Hey guys, this is Bob Johnson here at Bob Johnson's Computer Stuff, and today we're going to talk about the BIOS. And what you see on the screen right now is the BIOS from the Panasonic Toughbook CF31. The exact model number of this particular Toughbook you can see under product information that you see in this utility. This is the actual BIOS. Now, how did I get here to begin with? Well, what I did was I turned my Panasonic Toughbook CF31 on, and when the Panasonic splash screen came up, I just hit the F2 key. If you hit the F2 key, this is the next screen. It'll also allow you to hit the F12 key, which will send you to the network boot. So after hitting the F2 key, you see this screen on your CF31. And basically on the information page, what you can do is you can change from English to Japanese. We'll keep it in English today. There's nothing else on this page that you can change. This is the information page. So you see that we're using a CF-31 AAA-EA1M, and that's in the first line there. The serial number of the unit that we happen to be talking about, what type of processor this unit has, what's the speed, memory size. This particular machine has 4 gigs of RAM. Now we're running a 32-bit OS, so you're only going to see 3.253 gig of that 4 gig. Available memory, that's all that the machine will actually see. Hard drive space, 320 gig. It does have a DVD drive installed. And then the different BIOS versions, embedded controller, the Intel ME firmware version. And interestingly enough, Panasonic Toughbook puts the number of hours of operation that the unit has been on. This particular unit has been on 8,490 hours. Keep in mind that this is only kept in increments of 10 hours. So after your machine's been on for 10 hours, it'll click up for the additional 10, it'll show the additional 10 hours at that point. Well, I'm going to use my arrow keys because your mouse doesn't work in the BIOS. I'm going to just use the right arrow key to move to the main select tab that you see at the top there. And this is where you change your date. So we could change the system from, today happens to be June 9th, 2016. We can change all that. We can also change the time. Now it's in military time. It's about 1:06 in the afternoon right now. And you can again change this by hitting the enter key and go into each of these numbers. And what you'll see is you can just change it by typing in the number. I use my down arrow key to get to the touchpad. And the touchpad is just, do you want to enable it or disable it? Sometimes if you're using an external mouse or if you're typing a lot, you'll want to disable it so that you don't accidentally hit it and jump the cursor around. The touch screen mode. Now this CF31 has touch screen. And the touch screen mode, you can make auto, you can make it tablet mode. If you're using the pen, you might want to have the keyboard pop up on the screen. But we're going to use auto today. The 10 key mode is the number lock. Is the number lock going to be on, or is the FN key going to control that? Depends on your choice. I like the number lock. Display. Right now we're using an external monitor. That's why you see external monitor here. You can also change it to the internal LCD. How bright do you want the LCD? Right now we have high brightness. I can change that to normal brightness. It just depends on your preference. I like to use it on high so that if you're outdoors in the sunlight, you can really see the screen nice. Battery charging indicator on continuous. You can also have it flashing. It's up to you. Power on AC, disabled. That's whether the power on AC function is to be enabled or disabled. We're going to leave it disabled. A lid switch, which means that When the lid is closed, what do you want the machine to do? Turn off, go to sleep? That would be enabled. Disabled means nothing happens. Environment. This is a good question. It's a 100% charge in high temperature mode is approximately the same as 80% charge in normal temperature mode. This setting helps prevent the degradation of batteries in harmful environments such as high temperature or when an AC adapter is connected for a long time. In auto mode, the proper mode is selected automatically. You want to keep this in auto. Right now it's considered high temperature, if you see, and that's only because we have an AC adapter attached to the laptop. Concealed mode configuration. I'm going to go ahead and click enter here, and right now it's disabled. Select whether the concealed mode is to be enabled or disabled. If we enable it, you would do that here. I'm not going to mess with this, and most people won't mess with this, but you can adjust whether or not the sound is on or the wireless radio is on or the backlit keyboard, the fan. You can adjust all of these. So we're going to leave it disabled. Back at the main screen, you'll see, I have to scroll back down, fan diagnostics, and this is, let's go to the submenu. We can test the fan of this laptop. So if we felt like there was some sort of overheating issues, we would be able to test whether, and get some sort of diagnostic on that. All right, we're going to move over to the next tab, which is the Advanced tab. This is CPU configuration, and I just hit enter there. Execute disable bit compatibility. When disabled, forces the execute disable bit capability extended feature bit to always return 0. Most normal use, you're not going to need to disable any of this. Although you can. If I go and hit enter on that, I can disable it. In most cases, you're not going to change these settings. All right. Serial port settings. If I enter here, serial port A, serial port B, GPS. We can change those to be enabled, disabled, or auto, depending on whether you're using it or not. The enabled is selected. All the serial port settings can be selected manually. And that's what we want. We want to be able to select our settings manually, especially on the serial port. So if you have special equipment that you need to set or something of that nature. Okay. Hard drive, HDD, which is hard drive, controller settings. It's set at AHCI. You can also change that to compatible. Depends on the type of hard drive you have. Optical drive, enabled or disabled. Do you want it to be enabled or disabled? The LAN, same thing. Power on by LAN. In other words, do you want the unit to power on if by the LAN, by the networking connection or not? Typically you have deny on this. This is the default setting. Wireless configuration. Wireless switch. This is where you turn on your wireless LAN, your wireless WAN, and your Bluetooth. You can also turn it off. So if I go here to wireless switch, I can disable or enable it. Let's see, we're over here under express card slot. Do you want your express card slot enabled or disabled? Same with the PC card or the SD slot. You can turn these slots off if you so desire. So if you didn't want someone using the SD slot, you could put a password on this BIOS and have this disabled so they can't change it, but then they can also not use the SD slot. Same with the USB ports, the port replicator port, and of course, do you want to use legacy USB support? Again, these are all default settings. 99% of the people will not need to mess with these settings. Here we are in the boot options, and this basically just says, what do you want to boot to first? You're always going to want to, if you have an operating system, 9 times out of 10, you're going to want to boot to the hard drive and as the first device so that you can get to the operating system and it'll load in just fine. But let's say you're loading the machine. You may want to boot to the CD-ROM drive first. And the way you change this is simply by hitting enter. If I want to change, let me go back, I'm sorry. The hard drive here, you press enter. I want to go to the CD drive first. There you go. So now if I have a boot CD that I want to boot to, I would put this first. I'm going to change it back to the hard drive so that we boot correctly. All right, that was the, that was the boot options tab. Here we have the security. Now this is where you should never need to go unless you want to set passwords. I'm going to warn you on this, especially the Panasonic Toughbook line of laptops. If you set a supervisor password, a password on boot, a setup utility prompt, let's see, where is it? Password on resume, boot device, no, not that one. Set supervisor password. If you set a supervisor password and you forget what the password is, there is no way you're going to get around it. You can try removing the CMOS battery. 99.9% of the time it does not work. I've yet to see it work. If you set a user password, same thing. There's no way to get around it on the Panasonic Toughbook CF31s, CF53s, CF19s. Now some of the older units like the CF27 or the CF18 or the CF29 or even the CF28, you could remove the CMOS battery and get past the password most of the time. I'm going to warn you, don't put a password on here if you are not worried about your BIOS. Some companies need to put passwords on it so employees can't change the settings. If you're an individual, you do not need to mess with this. Embedded security. Supervisor password is required to enter this submenu. Okay, so bottom line, don't mess with the passwords. ATM configuration. Supervisor password is required to enter this subroutine. These are things that you should not mess with. And I believe we have passwords on those for this office machine in order to keep those from being changed. And then we have the exit. Now, I'm just going to say in some CF31s that the hard drive came to you factory, there would be an additional link here, and it would say repair, I think it says repair PC, and that's the link that you would use, and it would read right above your diagnostic utility, where you could reload the machine off of the partition on the hard drive. This particular unit, we've changed the hard drive, and we don't have that reload partition on this particular laptop that we're talking about today. You want to save your current values, you want to load the previous values that you may have changed from, or you can just load the default values. If you think you screwed something up and the BIOS is messing you up, you can always come in here and load default values, and it was like it came from the factory. You can also do a boot override if you need to. Most people don't need to mess with this. And then we have the diagnostic utility, and I'm just going to show you what this is. Perhaps I will. There it goes. The diagnostic, you can test CPU, system, memory, hard drive, the optical drive, video, sound, LAN, wireless WAN, Bluetooth, GPS, basically everything, all the components of the laptop to see if there's any problems. You'll be able to see if your memory, for right now it's testing the RAM, whether or not your memory has any errors or anything like that. If it's green, it passes. It's testing the memory right now. I'm not going to bore you with this part, but I will say that that's how you test all of the components of your PC. So basically, what you should take from this video is 9 out of 10 people are not going to need to mess with the BIOS. If you need to make some changes, whatever you do, make sure you don't change anything like add a password and not remember it and that sort of thing. You're going to want to keep it simple. If you're just an individual with a laptop, there's no reason to put a password on it. If you get one of these machines that you purchased and it has a password on the BIOS, bad news, there's no way around it that we have found. But that's all I have today. And this again is the BIOS on the Panasonic Toughbook CF31. I want to invite you to come visit us on our website at www.bobjohnson.com. If you have any questions about settings in the BIOS or anything like that, you can always call us. Our telephone number is 877-202-7788. We have these CF31s in stock, and if you go over to our website, you can see our inventory on these. This particular unit is an MK1. We do have them available. You can always give us a call with any other questions you may have, and hope you enjoyed the video today.